Alright, hello everyone. Today I'm here with another special guest, Ben Stark. Hello, how it's going, Ben?
Good, how are you?
Well, I wasn't doing as well before, but now that I'm calling with you, my mood got a lot better, so there's that.
Yeah, that's how I feel. Now that I'm about to be drafting Strixhaven, how could my morning not be good?
Yeah, for just to explain a little bit for people, I started a YouTube channel a couple months ago, and I just want to get more followers. And Ben is like one of the most famous drafters, or maybe even the most famous drafter in the world. And he agreed that he would do a draft with me, so that's awesome. Thanks for that.
Yeah, well, I mean, you did threaten and coerce me to get me to do it, so.
If you're ready, without further ado, we can click on this. I suppose maybe it will still take some time, but. Did you play many drafts, or like what's your position with Strixhaven right now?
I've done a decent amount, not as many as I would usually do weekend one. I probably got in about 10 drafts over the weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I play probably around like 12 or something, but I'm usually very slow with like understanding the format. So, I like blue-red and black-green so far, and blue-green as well. I don't really like white as much. I wasn't winning with white, but maybe I just drafted poorly or something.
Can you make them big? The icon in the top right to change the layout?
This one?
All the way top right, the furthest icon.
This one? Oh.
Yep.
Oh, okay, sure. I never actually used that. I didn't even know that it works like that. Okay, so the way we're gonna do it is that I'm probably gonna say like what I think are the best cards. So it's probably like these two removal spells, this like big return guy, and I don't think that any of the other cards are on par with them. If it was me, I would probably just take this, but I'm gonna let you talk about it, I guess.
Oh, I mean, I completely agree with that. Those are the top three, probably Quandrix, Pledge Mage in fourth. I think they're all good. I think Flunk is probably better than Eliminate. I mean, You do want to kill big things, not just things that cost 3 or less. That said, there's a lot of giant tokens floating around because of the lessons and stuff. So I think Eliminate's pretty good, but Flunk is probably a little bit better, but I don't have a high degree of confidence in that.
Okay, so we have 2 seconds, so I just took the Flunk. Okay, we have another booster, there's another Flunk. I don't really think that they necessarily get versed in the multiples, maybe a little bit, but it's still very good. I don't really see like any card that would compare to that, but maybe you have a different opinion.
No, I mean, I agree with all of that. They don't really get better or worse in multiples, just a good quality removal spell. I don't even know what my next choice out of this pack would be. I mean, I would definitely take the Flunk. I like Blood Researcher. It's pretty easy to grow that thing a lot. If you're the black-green pest deck, but I definitely wouldn't take it over Flunk here. One thing about guild formats, it's like when you can stay one color early, that's a really good thing, because then you can go into either of the 2 guilds, the black-green or the black-white. Yeah. And that matters a lot, because you really don't care that much if you're sharing colors or if your color is being overdrafted, but you care a lot if your color combination is being overdrafted. So what I find in these type of formats where there's 5 2-color pairs, I call them guild formats, like Guilds of Ravnica, is that you really want to find the guild that's being underdrafted a lot more than the color that's being underdrafted.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have a rare, but I don't think it's particularly good. It's just a 2-mana 3/2. I don't even know what this does on top order.
It's actually pretty good, because
it's like a rock creature, right?
Ramp, and then once you have 8 out, then suddenly it kills their best permanent, and then you don't need mana anymore generally. So it's a ramp card in the early game, and then a removal spell in the late game, which is kind of exactly what a blue-green ramp deck wants.
Mm-hmm. Blue-black isn't a supported archetype though. So
No. Black goes with white and green in this format.
Yeah. So I think the best cards are probably this guy and this guy. You have 2 flanks, so I'm not sure what I would take. If it was just me drafting, I would probably just take this, because I think this is just busted. But I don't know, maybe you just want to take this or something. But what do you think?
Well, I agree Ruth is the best card in the pack. Kelpie Guide, probably next. With Bloom Apprentice is pretty good.
8 seconds,
you can't say black, because you can't take the black cards. So, I mean, you can take any of those. I mean, I don't have a problem with taking the Rutha in case blue-red ends up being open.
Alright, I took this because I didn't have time, so...
I mean, that's fine. I mean, if we go black-green, we'll be really happy to get it. It's a really strong card, for black-green because it's so cheap and then it triggers the life gain synergy stuff all the way. But I definitely agree with you that if that was pick one, pack one, and we didn't have 2 flunks, I would never take Witherbloom Apprentice over that blue-red copy creature. That thing is substantially better.
I actually, like, when I clicked on it, I thought it was like a different guy, but this guy is really good, so I'm actually happy that I took it.
It's pretty good because of the life gain synergy. Like, you trigger a lot of stuff, and that card is so cheap, it just sits in play from turn 2 and then triggers all your life gain synergy stuff.
Yeah, so in this booster, I like both of these, like these learn cards. They're like nothing special, but I think they're like fine cards. I'm not sure like, if this is like any playable. I'm not even sure what it does.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Gets you a land or a creature, which is a good split card. It lets you lower your land count by 1 or a half a land or something, and then prevents like screw and flood. I would definitely take Field Trip. The reason it's important to take Field Trip here is because if you go blue-green, you can find a way to splash double flunk as just good removal, so you're not losing very much. So like, Field Trip there gives you the ability to still play like blue-green or black-green or potentially black-white even. I mean, Field Trip doesn't play into the black-white aspect, but...
So in this booster we have Village Rites, which is like a playable card, but like I don't think it's that great or anything, but I guess you can sack like a token, so it might be fine. And then we have like a lesson card, but it's like one of the worst lesson cards. So I'm not actually sure what I would take here, probably the Village Rites, but like maybe you have a different opinion.
Yeah, don't sleep on Willing Ingredient. It's actually a pretty good creature. It gives you a way to use your mana on turn 1 when you wouldn't otherwise, and then, it deals a bunch or chumps or trades, and then the late game, you just get to draw a card, which is, you get a card back.
6 seconds, what would you take?
I would take that, Village Rites or Pop Quiz. They're all pretty good. I guess we should probably try and stay black-green pass, and Village Rite is good in black-green pass, because then you just sack a 1 and gain a life, trigger your stuff, etc., etc. But I think it's pretty close. And like I said, I feel like blue-green might be somewhat open from what we've seen. And so, like, because, like, Pop Quiz is quite good. Learn is better than draw a card. Like, in the late game, lands are pretty dead. Once you're already casting your spells, you'd rather learn than draw a card. And so, I mean, I think, like, I'm not sure if we're really in, like, a black-green or a blue-green seat, but I can understand staying black-green because, we got the Witherbloom third and the double flunk to start the draft. Here, this is more of the same of that, because like Rise of Extras is an excellent removal spell. Fractal Summoning is really good. I mean, it's by far the best lesson, and especially common. I mean, I'm not talking about the mythic or whatever. And then, and then also there's like, it's good in black-green or blue-green, but it's more of a blue-green card. And it feels like blue-green is pretty open in this.
Yeah. You were saying that and you're right. I think this card is pretty good, but I guess this lesson is like a fine pick, right? Like you do want to have access to at least like one of this, right, in your pool.
I mean, that lesson's okay, and yeah, you do want to have access to one of it. I'm just not sure that it's so early to be like full committed here, because I mean, again, the flunks are flashable. I mean, I understand
this guy already as well.
Stuff. Yeah, Rise is good, but it's just 6 mana kill a creature, basically. Like, it's not some important
Well, I also
card.
think that, like, the guy we're passing to is probably in blue-green, right? So, like, we're not gonna get that much from pack 2, so, like...
Yeah, but, I mean, this is such a small loss. I don't know. I would probably not take the Introduction to Annihilation here. I would take the Eureka, but...
Sure.
If you just want to stay black-green, it is, week 1 of the draft format, keep it a little easier. I definitely respect that. And we definitely did miss the opportunity to take one of those pop quizzes that I think I might have took over like the Rise of Exodus or something, but because it felt like blue-green was kind of open, and it's pretty close. And I think we're seeing decent black-green pass stuff, so I don't think it's like horrible to be black-green pass. I just think blue-green is probably like a better guild or whatever you want to call them in this, and school, and I think it's probably just as, if not more, open. But yeah, here I would definitely take Hunt for Specimens. That's just that card's a lot better than it looks. Like I said, Learn is better than Draw a card, so that's like 2 mana 1/1 draw a card. Like it's quite strong.
So here, just take this, I guess.
Yeah. Like I said, that's another card that I think performs a lot better than it looks, because usually you don't use your mana on turn 1, so that's basically free if you have it in your opening hand, and then it does, however much damage, and then you just get to get a card out of it anyway. So it ends up performing quite well.
So just to take a duel in case we want to splash a white. I don't even know if there's like any white card that I would want to splash for, but there's
yeah, but even if you don't splash white, if you only get like, let's say 2 or less of those, like in the black-green, you'll probably play one that's 1 on color. I think the campuses, obviously they have really heavy diminishing returns, like you don't really care about drawing more than 1 of them, but you really want to draw 1. So I would take the Kelpie Guide here again. I mean, blue-green's still certainly an option. I know you have a lot of black cards, but the flunks are splashable and most of them are mediocre. So, I mean, I don't know. But yeah, on the campuses, I'll definitely play. If I don't have two that are like both my colors, I'll definitely play one or two that's one on color. They're worth it, even as it comes into play tapped, just let's say black source to get that scry ability in the late game, in my opinion.
That makes sense.
Now there's really heavy diminishing returns, so if I have two, let's say, in my colors, then I'm not going to play one that's only one color as my third, right? Like let's pretend we're black-green. I'll play 3 or 4 black-green campuses, right? But if I have 2 black-green campuses, I'm not going to play the white-black campus. But if I end up with no black-green campuses, I'll play the white-black campus. Or even if I end up with only 1 black-green campus, I may still play 1 copy of the white-black campus to have a second, because I really want to draw one every game.
Yeah, that makes sense. I took one of the blue cards over like one random thing, by the way. But
okay, cool.
All right.
Sorry, I know I was on a bit of a rant there, but it's a pretty good one because, I mean, the campuses are common. There's 5 of them. You're going to have to make these decisions constantly in every draft. So I think that's a pretty good rant to go on at the end of the pack about, trying to have, one on-color campuses are still good if they're filling your campus slot. You'll play any number of, your campus because it's a dual land. But as far as the one on-color one, then you would just want to make sure you have like up to about 2 campuses. Even.
So this booster, we have only 10 seconds left. I think the best cards is either the summoning or this, but I think the land is really good. So I would just take the land, but maybe you don't.
Yeah. I agree. The land is fantastic. I mean, not only is it a fixer, but it just gives you +1/+1 from like turn 5 on. I mean, this is a spells format. Blessing cards give you 2 spells a lot of the time. That land is just a fantastic card.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we have another of this. That's like a cheap, nice guy. I would probably take that. The best card in the pack is probably like maybe this, but we're nowhere near playing that. So I would just like take this, but maybe you think something different.
No, I agree with you. Igneous Inspiration is the best card in the pack, but I would never consider it here. We saw no red in pack 1. So basically, it's like Witherbloom Apprentice or like the Helix. Environmental Sciences is a pretty good card to pick up one of because sometimes you just really need land 4 or 5. So you really want to have one of those in your sideboard. But we're looking like our spells are pretty cheap. Environmental Sciences won't be important for us. So if you want to like commit to black-green, I mean, like I said, I think we were supposed to find blue-green in this draft, but at this point, we didn't get broken blue cards at the start of pack 2, and there's no the best card in this pack is probably besides Igneous Inspiration, which we can't play. Maybe the blue-green bounce spell is probably better than Witherbloom Apprentice, but it looks like we're pretty committed to black-green at this point, and you're trying to stay that course.
Yeah, so I just take this, right? There's like nothing really else in I guess this lesson card is like fine, but this is probably a lot better, right? How many lessons?
Yeah, Hunt for Specimens is good. Hunt for Specimens is a lot better than it looks. Like I said, I mean, 2 mana, get a 1/1 that gives you a life when it dies and draw a card would be fine. And black-green does like some sack synergy, some life gain synergy, etc. Like we have a Village Rites. We don't have a lot, but you do want things that sack for profit in black-green. And then that's just a good learn card. Like that's just a good cheap way to make a pest without going down a card because then you just go learn some reasonable spell. Learn is a really powerful mechanic. Like I said, if anybody hasn't played a lot yet, I mean, in the late game when you draw a card, a lot of times you draw a land, right? 40% of the time or something, and then the land's near useless. Learn is just go get your best card for the situation, either a powerful creature in the late game or, a removal trick, whatever, if you need it. Like, Learn is just really, really strong.
Yeah, so as you were saying, being blue-green would probably end up being better. But what would you take here? We can like take this if you still want to splash blue for something potentially. This is like, I guess, playable. It's also spell for like these 2 apprentices. I don't think it's like great or anything. Or I can just take one of the blue cards.
I agree with all of that. I mean, I guess just take like probably the Cram Session because you do have the 2 Witherbloom Apprentice. But yeah, I mean, I won't hammer it home, but yeah, we were supposed to find blue-green in this draft. Like I would have took the pop quiz over that Exodus, and then the blue-green stuff from there. We were supposed to find blue-green.
We need to start taking some lesson cards. I think this is like a fine card, but I should probably just take this when I have the opportunity, right?
Yeah, I agree with what you just said. because we do want to start prioritizing lessons higher and higher. Lessons are kind of like snowlands from Kaldheim in the sense that like you don't need a million of them, but the first couple good ones are really valuable because you have learn cards. So like you don't want to start out valuing them too high because you might get to take them when there aren't great cards in the pack. But as the draft goes on, you need to value them higher and higher if you haven't gotten them yet.
Yep. What do you think about a 5-mana free, by the way? Like, do you think it's any good?
It's okay. I don't think it's very good because by that time you've already played some stuff and like, yeah, it can be a powerful card in a stalemate, but decks are doing some pretty powerful things in the late game. I think that card is like way worse than it looks. Like, it looks like all fancy and powerful, but in reality it's like kind of slow and fine. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying it's unplayable, but I don't think it's that exciting of a 5-drop. I think it's, you get about what you pay for.
Okay, so in this booster, I personally would probably take this. I was kind of unimpressed with this guy if I'm not blue-green. It's obviously very good in blue-green, but like I'm not sure how good it is in this deck, but maybe it's still fine card. Oh shit.
No, I completely agree with you on this one. Go Blank is the opposite of that 5-drop that we were just talking about. It's way better than it looks because this is the learn format, so people always have cards, and there's like next to no aggro decks in this format, right? It's pretty weird. This is one of the least like aggressive formats I think we may have ever seen. Like, none of the 5 guilds are really just like hyper aggro in any way.
So here's basically nothing. I guess if I'm short on playables, maybe I can play this 2-1, or I can just take the land, but like I don't think I'm gonna splash, so
I don't think you'll be short on playables, and you're not splashing as of now. I'd probably take the land just in case you get something you want to splash. Wow. I don't think it's a big deal. I mean, you wouldn't use that land unless you did want to splash, unless you end up getting something you want to splash, which you don't currently have. But, I also don't think you're going to play that Biblio Assistant, which is not a very good card. I actually like the Dissector here. I don't think it's a great card, but you have a lot of things to sack. And if you look at your deck, it's like all 2 mana make a 1/1 and stuff, and you don't have much up at the top. Mm-hmm. And I also want to point out, in this case, I would take that just because of specifically you have all these cheap things that make 1/1s and not much at the top. But whatchamacallit, the 1 green instant that gives a creature trample and draws a card, that card's a lot better than it looks. That card is a way to trigger your Magecraft stuff, like our double Witherbloom Apprentice, and for 1 mana and draw a card, and it can deal a bunch of damage. Here, of course, take the Containment for Breach. The first copy of that for your sideboard is really nice. But yeah, so I just want to point that out, that I like the Novice. I don't like the Novice Dissector a ton, but I like it here because you can see that you have tons of cheap stuff, a lot of ways to make 1/1s and stuff like that, but like not any power, not any late game. You have like, that's literally the first creature you've drafted that costs 4 or more mana, right? You don't even have a creature that costs 3 mana. That Novice Dissector is literally the first creature that's going to go in our deck that costs 3 or more mana. Right? But in general, I would take the 1 green gives trample over the Novice Dissector there, and I think that card is going to be underrated. I think that if it was never triggering anything else, it would not be a very good card. But when you're triggering a Magecraft or 2 for 1 mana, draw a card, and the trample can win games or deal damage, even if it doesn't win the game and it just deals 2 points of damage, it's not cycle a card, it's deal 2 to the opponent, draw a card for 1. That's a fine card, right? You can pay a mana to deal 2 to the opponent if you draw a card, if it replaces itself. Mm-hmm. You can't pay 1 to deal 2 to the opponent if it doesn't draw a card, obviously. That would be horrendous. But if it does draw a card, now that's a playable. And then if it starts triggering your Magecraft, now it's just actually a good card.
By the way, and this is the first time I'm seeing this card. We have 20 seconds now. There's another of this land. It's obviously like the second copy is slightly worse, but it's still probably pretty good, right? I should still take it.
Yeah, oh yeah. I would definitely take the Hall of Oracles here. Bookworm is fantastic in Blue-Green Ramp, but like you said, that's not really what our deck does. So I think that's a pretty clear choice.
Mm-hmm. We have a first copy of Summoning. Well, we saw one already, but that would be a first copy that we have. I don't even know what this does.
I mean, that card is better than it looks because there is just so much instants and sorceries. Like I said, no aggro decks, every deck's got learn. But this is pack 3. We don't have a past summoning yet. It's a good lesson. We need to grab it.
Yep, I agree. Okay, what does this do? Goes to good. Well, we don't really have any creature with like an actual power, so this doesn't really do anything, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I just take this guy, I guess. I don't know if this guy is any good. It seems kind of weak, but like there's like nothing else in the pack.
Yeah, it's good for triggering life gain stuff. Like, imagine you have that 3 mana 2/2 menace that gets +1/+1 whenever you gain life, and it has like one counter on it already because it gets counters. You play that thing, right? The Inkcaster, put a counter on something else. Attack with the menace grower thing, and something else. That's 2 different life gain triggers. And now you have a 5/5 menace that's threatening to grow further, and the other creature, and they got drained for 2, and so on. So, I mean, I think that's kind of a card that just like, the more counters you have, the better it is. The more life gain trigger stuff you have, the better it is. You know, on its own, it's not a good card, but with enough synergy, it's a very good card.
So in this spec, I'm not sure at all, but if I was drafting alone, I would take this Agonizing Remorse, but you know, maybe like, you know, these guys are better. As you said, I just like learn so people have cards in hand, so that makes this better, and it's like a slow format.
Yeah,
but
this is the format where discard is the best I've ever seen discard be, because it's a learn format, people never run out of cards, but then also there's next to no aggro decks, like I said. So like, you know, discard is traditionally horrible against aggro, right? If your opponent's trying to pressure you and you're trying to attack their hand, then that's not a formula for success. But there's very little focused aggro in this format, and people always have cards in hand. So discard performs exceptionally well.
Well, I didn't mean to immediately take this, but you know, it would be probably what we would end up taking. But I just wanted to click on it, but it just like the arena took it. What do you think about this?
Oh, yeah, that's right. And yeah, that's probably what I would have took there.
Yeah.
So and yeah,
here shit, again.
The only playable for us.
This card is not bad, right?
No, that card's good. I might consider fractal summoning though, because might be our last. It's probably our last chance to get one. And when you have a lot of lands, that is the lesson you want to get. And we don't have any powerful late game lessons, right?
We're kind of low on playables though. We have 21 cards, including like free lands right now.
There's so many playables. We'll get 2 more. I don't know. I would take the fractal summoning. I think getting one of those for your sideboard is just too important. I'd rather put in some filler cards in my deck. You know, like here, like this is like, yeah, like Amplimancer is just, you know, filler to drop, fine playable. I mean, if we even have to splash, we have to splash. But like, if you think about our lessons, like Pest Summoning's a good lesson to get on turn 3, but in the late game, it's just 2 1/1s, right? So like, you know, we can stick in whatever fillers, but we have like 4 or 5 learn cards, I think. So getting that first fractal summoning is very important. Yeah, grab the Campus Guide. It's not good, but again, we might need a filler 2 or whatever. And you can just lower your land count by 1 if you have that, right? If you're still getting a 2 mana 2/1, but you're not going to get mana screwed because you can search for a land if you need one. Actually, take the Biomathematician, yeah, because we might end up having to do some kind of light splash.
Yeah.
I think we got a fixer or 2, and like you said, we're short a few playables, so we might end up like splashing like the Kelpie Guide and the Biomancer or something. This was kind of a cool draft.
Yeah, I liked it as
It's
well.
unfortunate we started off with the plunks and not like blue-green cards, obviously, because like I said, 100% we were supposed to end up blue-green in this seat, but still pretty interesting draft.
So we need to add 3 cards to make it a 40 cards deck, and it's like including this already. Yeah, and
I mean, you can play those 4 mana 2/1 flyers that you took. Like, I think they're kind of filler 4-drop, but I don't.
You can also play this guy, I guess. Just
and also the assistants, they're pretty good in your deck. Like, you have double Flunk to get back, double Field Trip to get back, Rise of Exodus. You have a lot of spells. So, plus you'll be triggering your Magecraft again. Like, I think those assistants will actually work out kind of well in this deck. I don't like them very much in like blue-green and blue-red because those decks do such big, powerful things, and Biblioplex Assistant's more of a grindy card. But this deck's pretty like disruptive. We have good removal, a couple discard spells, and like our creatures are really small. So getting back our removal to kill their big creatures so that we can win our game with all our 1/1s and 2/2s is going to be very valuable for us.
All right, so you would play like this, or would you change anything? Like, would you maybe splash for these? Like, I think it's just better to play 2 colors, right? But
yeah,
I guess we have 2 of this already.
Oracles, right, if you wanted to do like a really light splash, you have 3 free white sources right off the bat. We don't have a lot to splash. You could consider playing that that Rescuer. I know it's like, am I really going to splash for Rescuer? But the thing is, the answer to that is normally no, because you were not going to put plains in your deck instead of swamps and forests to have such a medium card, right? But in your deck, like, you have 2 Hollow Oracles and Silverkill Campus, so you could literally play 0 plains and have 3 sources, or 1 plains and have like 5 sources. And given how low your curve is and how cheap your creatures are, I think you might be interested in that Pillar Drop Rescuer. You see what I'm saying? Like, if you didn't
Yeah, I
have the two
understand
Hollow
that. I
Oracles and the
understand.
Silver Quill, I would obviously never do it, right? You would never stick 2 or 3 planes in your deck to splash that card. That would be horrible. But you have 3 free sources, so you can play like 1 planes, and you have like a million sources for a white card, right?
Just because I wasn't saying anything doesn't mean that like I don't understand you, right? You know, I just
Yeah, no,
I didn't want to
Tanner,
interrupt
I know you're a
you.
longtime pro. I'm explaining things. I'm over explaining things more for the viewers than for you. Like
Okay.
we're discussing it. You know what I mean? But this is for like I'm going into such depth and like explaining it all so much because it's for the viewers. If me and you
No,
were
it's
alone
fine, it's fine.
testing, I would say it, but I wouldn't explain it as much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But okay, so like cut 1 planes for sure.
It was just Arena added it itself. So I
And
guess I get one of
16
these
lands should be
guys.
fine. Yeah, 16 should be fine. You have the field trip that's a land. Campus guy can go get a land. Plus, most of your cards are cheap.
I guess
so
I add
that
a
looks good.
forest. Let's see.
And you have more black than green, and your fixing isn't. You really don't have. Look at your green. Like your green cards are fine, but you don't have very many green cards. And it's not like your fixing is green or something. Field trip searches for a forest.
But if I had a forest, then I have like 6/6. Whereas if I have a swamp, then it's like 7/5. Like, would you rather have 7/5 than 6/6?
No, but don't you need 2 more lands? I count 14.
10, 11, 2, 3, 8. Okay, you're right.
So like 1 forest, 1 swamp, I think, right?
Yeah.
And then we're 1 card short if we play 16 lands. We need to put in 1 more thing, which is fine. Like with Village Rights and Campus Guide and all those 2 mana cards, we want to play 16. I think.
Just play this guy, I guess. There's nothing else really.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, that was an interesting draft. I didn't have a deck like this at all before. It's kinda cool.
This is a really underpowered pest deck. I think pest can be a good archetype. There's a lot of black-green like uncommons that are like really good payoffs for sacking and for having pests out and stuff, but we really didn't get like any of them. So I think our deck's like not very good, but your cards are cheap and you have good removal and it's grindy, so like you can definitely win games that way with this. That's also kind of why I like the Rescuer, because this deck is all grind. Like it's literally like attack their hand, like put out stuff that are 1/1 to gain life. You have like plenty of good removal because like not only do you have the 2 flunks and the rise, but then you're going to get them back with the Biblioplex assistance. So like I think this deck is just, and then like the Pillar Drop Rescuer off the splash brings things back. Like this deck is just grind basically.
All right. Thanks for your time today. It was awesome drafting with you. I learned a lot. I hope viewers did as well.
Thanks for having me. Hopefully, maybe hit me up again next set. Maybe we can do this like once a set or something.
Oh, that would be awesome. If you guys liked the video, please click on the like and subscribe button. Don't forget to do that. And see you in the next video. Bye bye.
Good luck in the games pattern. Thanks again.
Yep.
See you next time.
Bye bye.